Let me ask you a fundamental question. What is Dharma? If you ask the same question to 100 people today, what Dharma means, you will probably get 100 different answers. Some people will tell you it means religion, others will argue that it's just a fancy word for duty or a rigid set of rules that you have to follow regardless of the case. A lot of people instantly point to texts like Manusmriti and think, that's the law book of Dharma. That must be the source. But here's the thing, they are missing the entire point here. The original ideas of Dharma predate those later texts. The actual framework is even wider than the Kalpa Sutras. If you want to understand the bedrock of our culture, you have to look at texts like Dharma Samhita, which pulls together a massive framework from Shruti, Smriti, and Puranas. In our Sampradaya, you can technically debate or ignore parts of the Vedas. It's a choose your own path system. But there are four things that are absolutely unquestionable: Rita, the cosmic order; Rina, the cosmic debt; Satya, truth; and Dharma. So let me answer this question. What is Dharma? Do the Vedas explain it? Yes, but the definition evolves dramatically as you move through our history. In the early Vedas, Dharma was explicitly tied to Rita, the cosmic rhythm. The sun rises, seasons change, ecosystems balance. Our rishis realized the universe has an inherent rhythm, and any action that sustains this rhythm is called dharma. Early on, we expressed this through rituals. Performing a yajna correctly was what literally fueled the cosmic gears. But dharma actually goes entirely beyond the Vedic framework. Dharma isn't a creation of the Vedas, rather, the Vedas are just an attempt to describe dharma. Think of it this way: the Vedas are called pramana, the flashlight, but dharma is prameya, the reality being illuminated by that light. Even if the physical texts of the Vedas were to vanish tomorrow, dharma would still exist because it is an axiomatic, eternal fact of existence. And this is exactly why ancient systems that completely rejected the authority of the Vedas, like Buddhism and Jainism, still kept Dharma as their central ultimate reality. For the Buddha, the Dhammachakra, the wheel of Dharma, was simply the cosmic truth of cause and effect. It had absolutely nothing to do with the rituals. See, the word dharma itself comes from the root dhr, which literally means to hold, to bear, or to sustain. Dharma is the invisible scaffolding of existence. It's the underlying principle that prevents the universe from collapsing into a chaotic nothingness. In Indian philosophy, every single object in the universe has its own specifics for dharma, its inherent nature. The dharma of fire is to burn and give light. The dharma of water is to flow and quench thirst. The dharma of sugar is sweetness. If fire stops burning, it literally ceases to be a fire. So dharma isn't a set of rules imposed on you from the outside, it is rather the realization and fulfillment of your deepest, truest inherent nature. For us as human beings, acting in dharma just means acting from our highest state of consciousness. Unlike Western biblical commandments, which give you rigid, thou shalt not, under all conditions, Vedic dharma is entirely contextual, organic, and dynamic. It recognizes that life is incredibly complex, so it divides dharma into layers. First, you have the sadharana dharma, universal ethics like honesty, patience, non-violence that apply to every human being alive. Then you have Vishesha dharma, your specific duty based on your stage of life and professional role. And finally, my favorite part, Apad dharma, emergency ethics. Our Shastras explicitly state that the rules completely change during a crisis or a survival situation. What is considered adharma during the times of peace might become your highest dharma during a war to protect the innocent. If you want to adopt dharma into our modern life, stop thinking of dharma as a religious commandment. Think of it like the laws of physics and ecology combined. Like how gravity isn't a rule written in a textbook that a vengeful god punishes you for breaking. It's a reality of space and time that holds planets in orbit. And ecology is the natural balance that allows a forest to thrive. When you act with dharma, you are acting in a way that sustains the human ecosystem, bringing harmony to your own mind, your family, society, and nature. And when you act with adharma, you aren't sinning against a god. You are simply breaking the ecological balance of life. And when you do that, the system will naturally experience friction, suffer, and collapse. Dharma is simply the art of living in alignment with the architecture of the cosmos. Even the Purusharthas, the core goals of human life, Artha, wealth, Kama, desire, and even Moksha, liberation, every single one of them pivots entirely on this foundation. Without Dharma, wealth becomes empty greed, desire becomes toxic, and liberation is completely impossible. It is the invisible gravity holding everything together. But here's the catch that nobody talks about. Even in the most pious, religious households, living a dharmic life is not at all easy. In fact, the raw emotion behind dharma, in my opinion, is pure courage. Why? Because to actually align your life with dharma means you choose, and your choices cannot be guided by your ego. This can't even be driven by your personal desires or even your raw affection for someone. Think about that. It means your relationships don't get to interfere with your principles. It's actually vice versa. Your values and your relationships are created and based on dharma. This is exactly where paths like jnana, bhakti, and karma yoga are so intricately tied together, and they are separate spiritual hobbies. They are the tools that give you the clarity to do what is right and are completely independent of how you feel about it. It takes immense and terrifying courage to stand in life's chaos and make a choice where you are completely removing your own ego from the equation of life. And that is precisely why the emotion behind dharma, to be dharmic, is courage. When we think about this kind of courage, we have to talk about Yudhishthira. A lot of modern readers look at Yudhishthira and think he was weak or spineless because he kept losing. He lost his kingdom, he lost his wealth, he went into exile. From a material standpoint, his life looked like a sequence of failures. But Yudhishthira wasn't spineless at all. He was deeply sensible. He understood a profound truth. His choices were based on dharma, which meant he was responsible for the integrity of his actions, not the outcome. So when the results turned out to be tragic, ill-fated and devastating, it didn't faze him internally. He accepted it. He didn't get bitter at the world. He didn't blame the universe. Why? Because he understood Vidhi, destiny, and the larger play of time. He knew that human greatness isn't about uninterrupted winning. It's about having the courage to fall, to lose everything materially, but to walk through the fire with your conviction completely untouched. Now let's completely strip away the Indic vocabulary for a second and look across the oceans. Do other cultures feel the same architecture in their bones? Look at ancient Greece and the story of Odysseus. Western pop culture loves to turn ancient myths into neat Hollywood stories where the hero wins and everything is perfect. But if you actually read the original Odyssey, his journey is a brutal, unglamorous failure. When Odysseus finally gets back to his homeland after 20 years of war and chaos, there is no grand happy celebration. His ships are gone, his entire crew is dead. He returns in total secrecy disguised as a filthy beggar. The moment he arrives, his faithful dog recognizes him, wags its tail, and immediately drops dead from old age. His home is overrun by corrupt men trying to steal his wife and his kingdom. Even his relationship with his wife is fractured by years of trauma and doubt. They don't just run into each other's arms. They have to carefully test each other to see if they even recognize who they have become. It's a harsh, painful, tragic reality. But just like Yudhishthira, Odysseus turned down a literal paradise of immortal safety earlier in his story because he knew that a human life lived in a bubble of safety is a spiritual lie. He built a fragile wooden raft and sailed right into the storm, knowing full well that old age, loss, and heartbreak were waiting for him on the other side. Both of these figures, separated by completely different civilizations, teach us the exact same thing. Don't let the fear of failure keep you trapped in a comfortable, numbing routine. We spend so much of our modern lives trying to protect our comfort zones, playing it safe, avoiding any risk of ruin. But if you have the cushion to try, to stumble, and to chase what is true, what exactly are we saving our lives for? Step into your storm. Do your duty based on your principles, not your ego, and face the results with humility and leave the rest to time. Remember, धर्मो ये हतो हन्ति, धर्मो रक्षित रक्षितः.